Welcome to Youth Are Yotzrim. Yotzrim is simply a Hebrew word which means creators. My name is Heather Kiros, and I'm the author of First Century Youth Ministry. And I believe when it comes to their faith, youth and young adults are not just online consumers, but they're online
creators.
That's right. And I'm here with Ava Hagedorn. And Ava is a sophomore in high school. And I first met Ava when she was in junior high. And let me tell you, my first run-in with Ava was wild and crazy. Do you want to share briefly about that last girls' Bible study that we had that summer where we reenacted the chapter there in the book of Ruth? Should we let the people know?
Yes, they deserve to know. So me and this other girl, we were reenacting a certain chapter of Ruth, and it was the chapter where Ruth has her son.
Right.
And we just bypassed all the biblical stuff. We're like, no, we need to make this interesting. Like, this needs to be an absolute showstopper.
Yeah, and it was.
So, me and this other girl and my twin sister Hattie decided to reenact Ruth's birth with me as Ruth, Hope Hansel as my child, and Hattie as my husband. And then we decided that it was too graphic for me to actually give birth, so we just decided to put a trash bag over the lower half of myself and have Hope crawl under there and then re-emerge. And so that was how we demonstrated that particular chapter of Ruth.
Wow.
It was a sight to be seen.
Indeed. Yes, it was. Oh, yeah, I just remember that. I was sitting back watching it all happen, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be asked to lead anything else here again. It was really funny. Okay, but today we're talking about other things other than wild and wacky and crazy things that junior high girls do when you give them an opportunity to be really silly. So today we're having a discussion around a question of what would you say to a teenager right now who might be struggling in their faith?
I think that I would tell them that everyone struggles in their faith. Mm-hmm. Like, people may look like they're the perfect Christian, or that they always read their Bible, and that they're just like this perfect person that you need to emulate. But that's just not true, because when you're in the world and when you're like around everyone else who isn't a Christian and doesn't really care about upholding those standards, it's so easy to be like, wow, why should I have to limit myself to like not swearing? Like, why should I have to read my Bible every day? Like, it's just stopping me from doing the things I actually want to do, like hanging out with my friends. Mm-hmm. And I would say that while it is so easy to like go into those traps of just not caring, mm-hmm. It's really worth it to stay connected, because if you're not connected, then what are you here for? Like, I find that with me, my life, I feel like I'm not living for anything when I'm just doing what I want to do and just like living my life as it is. Because like, what's your purpose? Like, when you're struggling in your faith, it's so easy to just not care. And I think that it's really important to just know that this isn't just something you're doing, and that it has an overarching meaning and a purpose, and it's not something that your parents just make you do, or you just did it because everyone else was doing. That it has like a meaning in your life for the long term.
Yeah, so that's really cool. I love what you said there, that it has a greater purpose, a greater meaning. But sometimes I know as a teenager, for my own self, and I'm sure many other teenagers are really struggling, even as a Christian, to understand what their purpose is. So how does a Christian teenager get to know and understand and live out this purpose that you're talking about?
Well, for me and for other people I know, they find what they love to do
Mm,
and how that can relate them to using that to spread the word and to tell people about Jesus. Like, I love to sing and I love to act and I love being in theater. So I find that singing in the youth band and mostly just being like a good witness and like a light in the theater world,
mhm.
which typically isn't a place where there's a lot of Christians, is something that's really important. So I think that if you find something you love to do, you can just connect that back to just being a light and just like emulating Christ while you're in that atmosphere. It doesn't even have to be like necessarily sharing the gospel to everyone you meet.
Mhm.
It may just be like being Christ-like and like showing other people around you what it looks like to be a Christian.
Wow, that's really good. So for you, you use drama and music, but what you're saying is that I don't necessarily have to get this big revelation from God of like, oh, right? Like, but it's that I find what I'm good at and I do it for God. Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
Yeah. So if I'm a teenager who's, kind of having a hard time struggling in their faith, what I think I hear you saying is don't stress out so much about it. Find something you're good at, do it for God, and you'll find that life has greater purpose, which helps you not to struggle so much in your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that it's also good to remain accountable to those around you. Like, if you aren't surrounding yourself with people that don't make you better as a Christian and
Mm,
like keep you accountable, then I think that it can also be really hard to just get in the world and just not really want to be at church, want to be talking about God, want to be in the word and stuff like that.
So, how do you do that as a teenager? How do you surround yourself with accountability?
I think that it's really important to like get involved in a youth group and to have friends that you may make at youth group that you may have from church that you just like remain connected to throughout the week. And maybe you don't have to make Christian people your like number one best friend, but
Mhm,
I think that it's important to just have some good people in your life who emulate like what you want to be as a Christian,
mhm.
and they can help keep you accountable in that way.
So, it could be an adult mentor, it could be a friend, it could be a pastor, it could be a number of people who could just help you stay on the path and the journey that God has for you. Cool. So let's kind of wrap up with this question. So you kind of mentioned at the beginning of our time talking together that you've struggled in your faith as well at different times. So can you tell us about a time maybe when you personally were struggling and maybe some things that you did that helped you get to a better spot?
I would say that the times when I'm like struggling the most would be when I'm so busy.
Mm,
Like I have homework, like honors classes, lots of activities, everything's like going on at once. And then you just tell yourself like, I can't make time for God. Like there's just no time.
mm,
But fact of the matter is that I find like by talking to my parents that like um if if you are like so busy, you can just like trust on God to open that time up for you
mm,
to spend time with him, because I'll be like, I'm so busy, like I don't have time for God. Like
mm,
I just I just don't like trust him to like make time. I'm so busy, I'm so stressed all the time.
mm,
But if you trust God that he will open up time for you to be able to talk to him, to just pray with him, then that time will open up and you won't even know like where it came from. You'll be like, I had so many things to do tonight and somehow I still managed to fit this in.
mm.
So I feel like that really helps me when I'm like struggling because I'm too busy, I'm too stressed, just like counting on God that there will be a way,
Mhm.
and just like talking to my parents who like can keep me accountable and like talking to God and stuff like that.
I love that. So talk to mom and dad. They're on your side. They're on your team. They're going to help you prioritize your time a little bit better so that maybe some of that busyness and that stress can be lifted from you so you don't feel all this pressure all the time. That's awesome. So, okay. So, Ava, thank you for giving us a ton of encouragement for any teenager that's listening on how you can overcome certain struggles in your faith. So, go reach out to those mentors, gather some good, strong Christian friends around, get people to help hold you accountable and to ask you how you're doing in your faith. And don't be afraid to talk to mom and dad if maybe you're struggling a little bit too. They're there for you as well. So, anything else you want to add before we go?
Nope, that's pretty good.
You did great. Well, hey, so thanks for joining us for this episode of Youth or Yotzrim. Again, we're here creating content on the internet with youth and young adults with the purpose of pointing people to Jesus. So thanks for joining us on this episode. We'll see ya.